will go first. Alrighty. And with that, she will go first. And are you ready, Dr. Aumer?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. Well, when you want to begin, just tell Miss Brady. I'm just trying to think. Is there anything else that went over the rules?
Oh, for shame and.
Oh, thank you. How can I forget? Okay. What for watching? By the way, part of the ritual in college debates across the United States and I think internationally as well is there is an allowance for audience participation. If you hear an argument presented by any of the debaters that you like, what you can do is pound on them, your table and go, here. You agree and you like that argument, okay? If you hear something that seems to be a misrepresentation of fact, mischaracterization of some point, or just downright not fair, you can say in a low tone, for shame, for shame. Okay? All right, thank you, Ms. Britt. Almost totally forgot that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think they can. Yeah. Yeah, they can. Alrighty. Any questions? No questions? No questions? Camera, clock's ready to go. We are ready to go. Dr. Aumer will present first. And Dr. Aumer, when you're ready, just tell Ms. Britt and she will start the clock.
Okay. Can I go up there?
Take the mic.
Is it okay?
Sure. No, actually, I think it's best if you argue from where you are. Yeah.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Okay, can I stand?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to stand. I'm a little more comfortable standing. Okay, so I'm going to use words that are not my own to describe social psychology. Maybe you guys know this, especially if you took my social psych course. Social psychology is a scientific study of the actual, perceived, or implied presence of others in our behavior, emotions, and thoughts. Considering people are ultimately inherently social, social psychology studies the essence, the fundamentals of what makes us human. We strive to better understand how the situation shapes and molds the experiences of our lives. The situation is often overlooked, is often erroneously diverted, ignored, and shrugged off as inconsequential to the understanding of human behavior, thoughts, and feelings. But what social psychology has done is reminded us how powerful and essential our situations are to our experience of being human. Thus, social psychology is a scientific study of what makes us human. We tackle the hardest issues: prejudice, discrimination, love, hatred, the self, conformity, helpfulness, and many more. And we do this not just because it's sexy, because it is, but because these aspects of our lives are of importance. Poets, historians examine their issues through writing and performance, but we are tasked at uncovering our reality with scientific reason. People get killed every day while other people watch and do nothing. Good people do terrible things. And while historically we would have turned to religion, humanities to provide our answers for why people do these things, social psychology provides people with a scientific framework for which to better understand these incredibly significant issues to ourselves. The bystander effect, the fundamental attribution error, the just world phenomenon. All these are basic psychological principles that help us better understand why we are who we are and why we do the things we do. And because we understand through social psychology the power of the situation, we can, in essence, better ourselves. Thus, social psychology tackles the pertinent issues that are essential to making our lives better. Finally, social psychology is eclectic. We do look at the cognitive elements, the clinical assessments, and biological components to provide further explanations and answers. We use a variety of techniques and instruments, and unlike many of the other psychological disciplines, which are respectively great, we are also culturally sensitive. We do not look at the behavior, thoughts, and feelings of people in isolation. We look to their environments, their communities, and their histories. Because these aspects are easily overlooked, their effects are often longitudinal and easily unseen until one takes a closer look and understands their importance. Thus, social psychology is expansive and resourceful in its use of other fields and knowledge to better understand people and who we are. And because social psychology, I'm sorry, I have 3 minutes, is a scientific study of what makes us human, that tackles the most important issues of our lives and uses a variety of resources to better understand who we are, social psychology is the superior scientific discipline to biocognitive psychology.
still got time. Are there any comments? Anything else you want to add? It's up to you.
That's what
Okay. Questions from the opposition? Okay, you're going to, for now, rest on your...
I'll rest on that.
You will rest on that. Let's hear it for Dr. Aumer. Okay, with that, Dr. DeWald, when you're ready, just tell Ms. Britt and she will hit the clock.
Please. I will not provide as emotional testimony. I'm going to try my best to provide superiority found in cognitive neuroscience as it's tethered to science as best as we can. As social psychology was defined as being scientific, superiority should be found in who's more scientific. So the definition of cognitive neuroscience is the study of cognitive processes and their implementation in the brain. That definition was provided to us by Brenda Miller, a lovely lady here in honor of Women in Psychology Week, who is considered the patriarch or matriarch of cognitive neuroscience for her studies of memory. And most of what we know about the neurological basis of memory is based on her. So for that, it's great. So given that we are looking at the study of cognitive processes and the implementation of the brain using the scientific method, we have to consider what is science, what is it for? It's a testable body of knowledge, of explanations, and predictions that allow us to understand the universe as a whole. Indeed, it is important to understand the human aspect of how we exist in the universe. But for doing that, we have to take it down a notch. Before we make that jump up to what it is to have human exceptionalism in function witnessed in a physical system, we have to understand how the physical system works. And that can only be appreciated by understanding what it is that is the universe, which is matter and energy, and how it relates to each other. And so we know from physical sciences, which some may argue are superior to the psychological sciences, I will not, that the universe is made of that matter and energy, and by a material implication of the brain existing in the universe, it too is nothing more than matter and energy that operates on a fixed set of rules that afford it function. So cognitive neuroscience is the neuroscience understanding the structure and construction of that matter and energy. And the cognitive aspect is understanding the rules that it follows to give rise to basic functions and structures that we have for adaptation. And indeed, it does not offer as broad of a compelling comparison of understanding human perceptionalism, relationships, and passions of everything that we do. It does afford a rudimentary understanding of the fundamentals that are necessary to make considerations of higher level processes like relationships and human exceptionalism. So, in that regards, superiority may not be in its compelling aspect or in understanding everything about humans, but it's the foundation. And without an understanding of a foundation based on solid, grounded science, everything after it's useless. And therefore, that is where the superiority is found.
For shame! For shame! That's all I have. Oh, you will not take...
I just wanted to do that.
You need to... oh, I'm sorry, you need to...
One more? Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask, are you equating a physical system with the actual experience that arises from the combination of those physical systems?
It must be. Absolutely.
So you're creating kind of a fallacy of, maybe this is a fallacy, of thinking that what arises from a system is the same thing as the components of that system.
What else could it be?
Well, like, for example, my car is more than just its gears.
Wait, I just want to... debaters, you just make arguments, you ask questions.
Okay, got it.
So I just take it?
You answer. You answer questions. You question later. But not when you debate.
Okay.
So, I'm trying to think of the question again. So basically, the components are essentially the same thing as the experience, is what you are equating. If I'm wrong, you just correct me.
is the cause of the experience. And therefore, to understand the experience, one must understand the cause. And neuroscience offers an explanation of the cause. It tells us why the experience happens. Not describing what the experience is, but rather what is the cause.
And you do this, if I'm wrong, ignoring other cultural ideas and histories and everything that's important. I'm just making sure I understand.
Fundamentally,
Yeah.
neurons don't care about culture.
Oh, really? Really? Because there's some research that actually shows that your brain is adaptive. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Citation.
Questions later, sir.
Okay, that's fair enough. So, if there is research, and I'm pretty sure I know, for example, Trianus has also shown this, that brains do adapt, especially to culture. If that's true, then wouldn't neurons care about their history and their culture?
Expressing that experience-dependent plasticity in a neuron is indicative of culture and emotion, that's unfounded. There's no way that you can make that jump. Or if you do, that's an exceptional leap to say that emotions or care is found in the neuron. But, indeed, there is an experience of culture. There is an experience of social relationships, but it still must be reduced down to a primary cause. It has to be. There can't be something that exists in and of itself beyond its foundation.
So you think reduction is the proper way of understanding information in our lives?
I say it's not the best, but it has the best chance for the broadest explanation for understanding.
He's in the last one.
Got it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's all right. Go ahead. I'll agree with that.
Sufficient.
You're okay. You're going to settle on that? Okay, with that, we have our first round. Thanks, sir. All righty, let's get to that for a moment. Very good. So with that, let me reset this for the next round, 5 minutes each.
Oh my God, it's another round?
Need your trainer to give you a round?
Yeah, where's the coach?
We're all set. Okay, with that, we're all ready for our second round. It's 5 minutes, so no interruption in the first and last minute. And the first and middle 3 minutes, you can raise questions. Okay? Alrighty, so with that, Professor Aumer, when you're ready for your second round, 5 minutes, just tell Ms. Britt, and we'll continue.
Okay. I greatly appreciate and respect Andy's argument. I think what he said was full of insight and merit. I don't have a butt, but I'm a little concerned, there's my butt, about the idea of using reductionism to understand knowledge, or understanding our world, or just being able to understand our environment. So reductionism, basically the idea that you see a phenomenon, you reduce it down to its essential parts. You go further and further and further and go, oh, so now it's these neurons, now it's not the neurons, it's the spindles, and then before that it's now the atoms. And you keep going and you keep going, and then essentially you have to ask yourself, why does that matter? And when do we stop? And that's kind of hard for human beings to do, ultimately. I'm not saying that there isn't merit in doing that, you should do that, but what information does that provide for us? And why are we doing it? If we can't answer that, then that's not very scientific to begin with. We should be going in with reasons for doing it and not just doing it because it's a good habit or because scientifically or historically we just reduce things down to its principles. We should be doing it because there's a theory behind it, there's reasons behind actually going in and using a reductionist approach. There is cultural variability in our environments. To think that it does not affect you at even the most essential levels of your body is ludicrous. It's an assumption to be made as opposed to has been proven or disproven. So I would like to at least assume that culture is a variable to be measured and to be considered, and I don't think cognitive psychology does a very good job of at least considering those notions. It likes to assume that it has already, in essence, looked at the person and human in isolation from its environment and trying to better understand human in that respect. But by doing that, by ignoring the environment, I think you've actually blinded yourself from very important aspects of what makes you human and those effects. So that's
Okay, Still got
So about 2 minutes,
3
2.5
down?
minutes.
It's up to you. Do you want?
Nope.
No questions? Then you will rest on that?
Rest on that.
She will rest on that with that. Very good. So that's Dr. Aumer. The clock is reset at 5 minutes, and Dr. DeWald, when you're ready, just tell Miss Brett.
First of all, part of the reason why cognitive neuroscientists fail to pay attention to variables like culture is because they themselves are incapable of conceptualizing it. Present company back to the reductionist argument in that it affords a wealth of variables that sort of interfere with understanding the rudimentary form of what is the fundamental cause of the base, that's the foundation. And indeed, I don't deny that culture is a variable, absolutely not, or any aspect of that. It's just that it's at a level that is so beyond the foundation that we don't fully even understand the foundation. It's necessary to at least document and explain why that exists, or at least the basis of that. So in that regards, there is indeed an absence of cultural consideration in neuroscience, absolutely. When you were measuring the voltage of a single cell in a petri dish, it doesn't have a culture. Agreed, absolutely. But that single cell in a petri dish absolutely is the foundation for culture down the line. So it's important to understand. Now, having said that, I want to take a look at the applicability of the findings in social psychology versus cognitive psychology, cognitive neuroscience, and what it is that it can tell us. Indeed, there was a very compelling notion put forward that helps us understand humans. And the whole purpose of science is to be able to understand the world, not just explain it, but also predict it as well, offer predictions about what should and should not happen, and explain why it did or did not happen. And therefore, all of this is contingent on replication. Okay? Consistent, direct replication, which at present is not present in social psychology. For example, a meta-analysis of 843 papers in social psychology that was conducted by Richards in 2003 found that the effect size across all those studies was an R of 0.21, which works into a variance that can be explained about 4%. So that means that 96% of human condition can't be explained by social psychology. That's a major flaw that is found there. Direct replication is necessary for a science to progress. In doing so, you must have direct replication in order to proceed with continued findings, which is found in neuroscience. From the initial premise by Donald Hebb in 1949 that there may be some sort of system by which neurons that are connected increase their firing rate, thereby facilitating learning, to it actually being demonstrated directly in 1966 by Lomo in a petri dish, to being represented in the Ecclesia by Eric Kendall in 2001, winning the Nobel Prize, which now we got for social psychology. So, in order for that to occur, we must have immediate direct replication, consistency. Yes?
Have you not considered Funderunser 1967 Psych Bulletin? In length, there has been replication and meta-analysis against Walter and Michel with personality and social psychology. We have done extensive meta-analysis of our own work, including Alice Egley's own work, right, that has shown that yes, we do have an R that ranges between 0.2 and 0.4, but also Michel showed in personality psychology it ranks the same way. So if you take those both, at least we've considered both the personality and the social environment in understanding our human behavior. Well, you only doesn't have it. It's proved. That being said, I just want to know if you considered Funderunser's 1967 meta-analysis.
What do you think of that?
Okay, just want to make sure.
I would like to point out, though, in my last 28 seconds, the exact same journal that you just cited,
Yes.
the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology.
Cycle. Sorry.
In 2011, published a study by them,
Yes.
which reported that ESP is an established thing. The same journal in 2011.
Are you telling me that
Therefore, there are questionable ethical practices and methods used to establish that.
And down to the last second. All right, so again, yeah, make peace, there, shake hands, very good. And if the two of you folks, the two warriors, if you step outside, step out the doors, the group, the gallery will vote as to who won this debate. Was it social psychology? No. So if you can so kind of step out, it is, thank you.
I think we have enough information.
Holy cow. Alrighty, so the competitors are almost out, they're out the door. Alrighty, folks, so Miss Pritchard and maybe Miss Kramer, could you stand up? Hi, they will assist me in counting the hands, yeah? So, we'll just keep this real simple. How many, so you can both kind of look and count. So, how many of you think that Dr. Aumer won the debate? Raise your hand. Raise your hand high, show the armpits. Raise it high, so there's no, okay, I'm not voting. You guys count? Okay, and how many of you thought Dr. DeWald won the debate? Wow, oh.
Actually, like Harry's face.
He is nasty. In fact, that's how Paul wants to grade you guys in the future. He just wants to take Alrighty.
Photos, I know.
And with that, if someone would be kind enough to bring in the debaters, bring them back in. If someone would be kind enough to walk in, just say, hey, come back in. Thank you, sir. You're listening to the door?
No, you're on microphone.
Alrighty. And, alrighty, so the winner of our first official public debate in psychology is Dr. DeWald. Thank you so much for your attention, for your participation, and please take some pizza out with you on the